Hello, friends. Welcome you back to my lecture series on the subject uh, research methodology and intellectual property rights. I am Professor Basavarajas Kuchimat, your teacher for the subject uh, research methodology and IPR. And as a part of the subject, which has been introduced by Vishweshwara Technological University for MBA Part 2, that is second semester, MBA Part 1, second semester. I'm dealing with the sixth model of the research methodology and intellectual property rights. As a part of IPR discussion, the sixth unit, this is my ninth lecture series, and today I'm going to discuss with you the TRIMS, that is trade related investment measures. In my previous lecture series, I have seen the many kind of reforms made through WTO, World Trade Organizations. In that, most important reforms after the establishment of WTO in 1991, 1st January 1995, two important acts were enacted by the World Trade Organizations to manage the international trade. One is TRIPS, that is trade related intellectual property systems, and second one is TRIMS, that is trade related investment measures. When these two acts were implemented, the world trade has become very smooth between the countries. Earlier to WTO, that is 1995 before, there were a lot of problems with the countries dealing across the borders or trading across the borders. The basic problem was regarding protecting intellectual property rights and also protecting the investments that is to be made in the foreign countries. Now we have already seen the TRIPS, that is trade-related intellectual property rights of the WTO. How trade-related intellectual property rights is protecting the interest of the foreign countries in the host countries. The host countries interested in the home countries, like that. How their intellectual property rights are protected and how the agreement was made. All 164 countries have agreed the TRIPS and started. Now, the next important point is regarding trade related investment measures. As all of you know, when one country invests in the other country, for example, if USA invests money in India, it is a foreign direct investment inflow for India, because the investment capital in the form of investment in the fixed assets of the companies established in India, it becomes foreign direct inflow for India. And the same becomes the foreign direct investment outflow for America, because America invests money in India. When the investment is made in India, the country like India welcomes the foreign investments basically because of two reasons. One is the developing country like India expects that the capital should inflow in the country because there is a dearth of capital for developing the economy. Production activities and all other kinds of activities, when had to be enhanced, capital investment is found lacking, especially for establishing the big industries and all that. As it is mentioned, like a developing country like India is a rich country inhabited by poor people. The basic reason is capital is the major constraint for utilizing the raw materials and resources available within the country, because capital is most required to establish the processing systems or production activities. Therefore, when the foreign direct investment is welcomed by India, along with the foreign direct investments money, the not only capital gets inside. India will not only get the capital in the first advantage. The second important advantage is the investing country like America and England, who are investing in India, will bring the technological know-how to establish in the country like India. Say, for example, when the car company, the Ford company of USA, when they enter into India, or the German car manufacturing companies enter India, they not only bring the capital to develop the car manufacturing activities, but also brings the technology, because the German technology of car manufacturing will enter in India. And this will start developing the country's technical skill things also, along with the capital inflow. That is how India country like India are benefited, who are called as the host countries who are welcoming the other foreign country investments in the country. When the investment is made by the foreign companies in the country like India, there is a problem of protecting the intellectual property rights, because along with the capital, when the technical know-hows enters into, they have to protect the interest of the customers by adopting the foreign technology in India. Because the cars which are manufactured in Germany with that particular technology, same technology is adopted in India. There are many chances that the countries like India may have restrictions on the foreign countries to use the local or indigenous manufacturing skills or techniques in the product. So this is going to spoil the output of the product, because the German cars produced in India may be different because of using the Indian technology. To prohibit such kind of compulsions on the production process and all that, the host country cannot have any what do you call as influence on the foreign investments. When the foreign companies, home countries comes in India, they start developing the products according to their technology. Hence, there cannot be force by the country like India to adopt their own kind of things on that. This agreement is made in trade related investment measures by WTO. Let us understand today what exactly this WTO is and how it is benefiting in protecting the intellectual property rights. Let us understand that WTO. The global trade landscape is governed by crucial agreements that protect investments and intellectual property. This presentation explores how the WTO TRIMS agreement create the foundation for fair trade practices, investment protection, and intellectual property rights across intellectual markets. Let us understand what the WTO is. What is TRIMS? TRIMS refers to the trade related investment measures. This is an agreement, a cornerstone of intellectual trade regulations since 1995. It specifically targets the prohibitions of investment measures that discriminate against the foreign products, distort trade flows through restrictive practices, and violate basic GATT principles, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff Principles of national treatment. It means that this trade related investment measure is an agreement made between the countries of the WTO, members countries of the WTO, that those who are the members cannot restrict the inflow of the foreign country companies in the country, restricting with certain kinds of discriminating foreign products, discriminating policy for the foreign products, or restricting the production activities and what you call as export activities and all that, and violate the GATT principles of the national, whatever the general agreement on trade and tariff has been entered by the member countries, they cannot violate. To supervise these three important aspects, the TRIMS came into existence in the year 1995 along with the birth of the World Trade Organization on 1st January 1995. Let us understand what were the restrictions that were prohibited and what were the restrictions that was levied by the host countries on the foreign countries in order to enter the capital and production activities. What were the practices and how it is eliminated by trends? Let us understand. By 2003, transition periods for compliance added ranking, making TRIMS rule fully binding for all 164 WTO members. When it is introduced in 1995, immediately all the member countries were not restricted to put the investment measures. Some countries were given 5 years of tenure and some countries were given 10 years of tenure. The developing country like India were given 10 years of a time where 5 years of time where the modifications in the investment measures can be made and trims can be fully implemented. For example, the developing country like India will have a fear from the foreign companies entering in Indian economy, because foreign company products are very much good in quality and they have high technology to produce the production at the very cheapest level. Hence, Indian market will be competed by the foreign products and Indian domestic companies may die. In order to protect the Indian domestic countries, the WTO has given 5 years of time, and after the fifth year, the TRIMS was made mandatory for the country. What is the TRIM? Trade related investment measures. So restrictions had to be withdrawn. By 2003, what happened? All 164 member countries have withdrawn all kinds of restrictions on the foreign trades. There is no restrictions on the foreign company goods by the host countries. Let us understand what were the difficulties that were faced and how this TRIMS has given a what you call as the solution for it. Earlier to TRIMS, there were a lot of restrictions levied upon the foreign trade by the host countries. That is, these measures were prohibited. This TRIMS has prohibited four important measure problems. One is local content requirements. It means that any foreign company entering into the host country was restricting to use the local raw materials and local contents in the production activity, domestic goods in the production activity. As it is quite common that the host country like India, when foreign company comes in India, restricting them for use of the raw materials was quite common, because that raw material, when it is used, the Indian local companies will get the benefit of it. Most of the Indian companies started acting as ancillary companies to support the foreign multinational organizations within the country. So this tendency of restricting on the local use of the raw material were made earlier. But after 2003, India stopped imposing any kind of restrictions on the multinational corporations of the foreign countries to use the local requirements. This is what we call as TRIMS measures we can talk about. Second important is export performance mandate. Every country like India used to restrict the foreign companies to export the Indian company goods also along with the foreign products. Like for example, if Germany car manufacturing company, like the Toyota company producing in India, when it produces in India along with the Toyota products, the tires and tubes of Indian company is made mandatory to export the product to foreign. When it is exporting the car, manufacturing of tires of India should be included in that. These restrictions were there. Because of that, the quality of the car in the international market was reducing, and the patent rights of using that particular products was prohibited by the host country like India on the foreign countries. So this was eliminated through this trade related investment measures. Third important is trade balancing requirement, restricting imports to a percentage of exports. It means that any kind of imports are to be made within the country by the foreign company. For example, if the Germany company establishes its manufacturing unit in India, almost all the parts of the that is Toyota cars of the Germany were imported from Germany only in India to assemble the product and sell it to foreign countries. So this importing was restricted, because when the export is made, the Indian goods were exported by the German car manufacturing company, then only that portion of the imports was allowed earlier. But TRIMS, when it is implemented, it has prohibited this condition. No Indian company, no Indian government can restrict the foreign companies to balance between the import and export. Any amount of goods can be imported from the foreign countries, and it is assembled, produced in India, and can be sold to foreign countries. Indian government cannot restrict such kind of foreign companies to use the export of the goods of the home country to the tune of the imports that they do with the foreign products. So this was eliminated through TRIMS. Then forced technology transfer. There was a compulsions made on most of the foreign companies to provide the intellectual property technology to the indigenous companies. For example, when Ford company entered India, it was restricted to Ford companies to share the technology with the Indian companies also at a free cost. This was prohibited. This was totally prohibited to TRIMS. No foreign country established in India is bound to share or give the free access to the patents of their country to Indian companies. It was prohibited. Normally, what happens, when the foreign company products come in India, foreigners come in India, It is restrictions made by the Indian, what you call as foreign direct investment policy, that any company coming in India cannot have a exclusive production unit of their own. They should tie up with some Indian companies and start manufacturing. For example, when Ford company came in India, Indian motor company, motor manufacturing company merged with Ford, and Ford India Limited was established. In this case, Indian company is also a part in the Ford company. Both together merged together and established the foreign company. It is not purely the Ford company of Germany, which is produced in India. It is Indian Ford, which means that association with the Indian automobile company, it is established. So here what happens, there is a distribution of the net profit earned from the sale by the Ford company in India, where some portion of the money will also be retained by the Indian companies in the form of dividend. So it is prohibiting taking away the total profit earned in India to their country called German in case of Ford company. So therefore, this was accepted, but there is no condition through TRIMS. What is restricted is the intellectual property of Ford company need not be utilized by the Indian automobile company after the liquidation of the company. For example, the Ford company foreign direct investment will work for 10 years because it is a long-term investment. After 10th year, when the company get dissolved, Indian company will not have any rights on the patents of the Ford company, car company produced together when they were merged together. So this is what we call as trade related investment measures in protecting intellectual property rights. The next aspect is India's compliance and trade investment landscape pertaining to TRIMS. That is, pre-WTO era, India maintained a numerous local content requirements. India has put a lot of restrictions on the foreign countries, foreign companies that they should must and should use the indigenous raw materials in their manufacturing. When they are exporting, they should also export the Indian products along with it. Import and export should match together. These were the restrictions levied out. Because of that, there was no high growth of multinational organizations in India, though there was a huge amount of potentiality of market and huge amount of benefit to the host country and the home country together. The second important is initial compliance has happened between 1995 to 1999. This is the period where India notified TRIMS inconsistence with the WTO rules. What was the WTO rules? World Trade Organization rule was to protect the interest of the trades between the countries. Because of this TRIMS restrictions, every country was given the free hands to cooperate, but this was identified from 1999 till 1999 it was suffered, and after 1999 a specific policy was levied out, what is we call as 2000 till 2000. Lot of amendments were made to TRIMS, and today the TRIMS which is implemented will have an obligations remaining India advocates for developing countries transaction extension while reforming its own investment policies. It means that every country was given an investment policy to frame for themselves to protect their interest of the country. So India developed the foreign trade policy considering the TRIMS considerations and matched with the WTO requirements. So now today all 164 countries will have the foreign direct investment policies in tune with the WTO, which is advocating it through TRIMS. Whatever the trade related investment policy rules are there, they are being implemented, and WTO objectives and TRIMS rules and the country policies were lined together to benefit mutually. This is what we call as policy transformation period. TRIMS ensures India's foreign investment policies align with the WTO national treatments, and this compliance has been crucial in improving India's global trade relationship and attracting a foreign direct investment. When India has started developing the foreign direct investment policies in tune with the WTO principles and TRIMS, it has become more effective policy, and a lot of foreign companies started investing their money, having a trust, having a trust on the Indian government that their trade related intellectual properties and their investments are highly protected as per the WTO guidelines. So this is what the TRIMS this thing is called. So friends, we understood what the TRIMS is and how the TRIMS is helping for reducing the prohibitions between the trade practices between the two countries. And we have already seen how the modifications were made to attract the foreign direct investment by Indian economy. With this brief discussion, I end this lecture series. Thank you very much for watching my video. Hope this video will be more useful to you. Normal questions which are asked in the examination is maybe the form of short notes. What is TRIM? Write the short notes on TRIMS and TRIPS where you are supposed to do. What is TRIMS? It is asked. You should write TRIMS is the trade related investment measures, which is the act passed by the WTO, which is established on 1st January 1995. World Trade Organization is established with the two important acts. One is called as Trade Related Intellectual Property Rights, TRIPS, and second one is Trade Related Investment Measures. These were the two acts were passed. You have to write answer for that. What are the prohibitions which are reduced or measures taken to eliminate the compulsions made where they discussed here? What are the one is use of the local raw materials in the by the foreign countries established in home country, established in host country is prohibited by the TRIMS. Then export and import balance should happen. That is also restriction was levied out, brought down, and also the protection of intellectual property rights when the foreign direct investment enters into. So these were the restrictions which were withdrawn. Hope this video is most useful. Thank you, friends. Thanks for watching my video. Thank you.